What's up? Alright, so in this video I'm going to be talking about the first time that I took diphenhydramine. So my first video on this channel is actually this exact story, but I feel like it could have been told a lot better. There was more that could have been told, and well, now this is just a lot better quality, so I guess you could consider this a remastered version. Alright, so this took place back in 2012, and me and my dad had went to New York to go visit my grandma and some other family members because my dad's entire side of the family is all from New York. So I knew that you could get high on Benadryl. Like, I've read a bunch of trip reports on it, and you know, I looked into it pretty deep because I wanted to know what the hell I was going to get myself into before I, popped a bunch of Benadryls. So one night, me and my dad had went to the drugstore, and I asked him if I could get some Benadryl for my allergies. So he bought me a box, and we went to my grandma's house, and then I decided that I was going to go ahead and take them at around 11 o'clock when everyone went to sleep. So I had gotten myself a 24 box, meaning there would be 2 different packets inside, and there'd be 12 each in each packet. And one of those packets is 300 milligrams. So I decided, since it's my first time, I'm going to just take 300 milligrams. I'm not going to take 600 because that's insane. So I figured 300 milligrams would be a good start. So I spent a good 15 minutes just de-shelling all of them, and finally got them all out, and then I popped them, chased them down with a Coca-Cola, and here we go. So about 45 minutes later, I started to notice the first effect that I had. When I stood up to go to the bathroom, it felt like I weighed like 1,000 pounds. Or I guess another way to describe it would be, it felt like gravity was intensified by like 100 times. So I just felt really heavy. I started to get a little anxious, so I decided to put in the movie that I had gotten from the Red Box earlier that night, which was Project X, and this would be my first time watching it. I decided to turn this on to maybe just try to keep my mind occupied so I wouldn't be nearly as anxious as I was. But about 30 minutes into the movie, I started to get very delirious. Like, I couldn't follow what was going on anymore. Like, I was just having a hard time thinking in general. It was like parts of my brain just started shutting down one by one. So my grandma had actually come out and turned the TV off because it was too loud, and of course I acted like I was asleep because I didn't want to, have to hear her say anything because I was up too late. But about 10 minutes later, I turned the TV back on and I just kept the volume at like 5. I just needed something to at least just look at if I needed to. But this is where things started to get just a little weirder. I began to see what looked like to me like smoke in the air, kinda. Like, you could kind of see the air, and it would be everywhere that I looked, especially in like really dark spots. I started hearing random noises. I remember the first noise that I heard was like a cartoony kind of boing. Like, the spring door stoppers, like when you flick it, it goes brrrr. That's exactly what it sounded like. Also, I remember hearing like weird spaceship type noises, like beep 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 beep. So it did start off kind of chirpy, but it was also kind of like scaring me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I called my friend up so I could tell him what was going on, and so I just have someone to talk to. And he stayed on the phone with me for a good 35-40 minutes, but eventually he did have to go to sleep because he had to work the next day. So now I feel like I'm kind of fucked at this point, and it's all on me now. And I remember looking into the kitchen, which was just to the right of me, and it was dark as hell in there. But I remember seeing that smoke in the air, and like, I remember looking at the fridge, and all the smoke was like seeping up the fridge, and it was doing some weird shit, and it made the fridge look like it was alive, and it looked violent. Like, in fact, random things that I would start to look at, like, I remember looking at a blanket that was on the couch, and I remember just seeing it like kind of jump around and twitch randomly in random different spots. So then I would go on to start hearing voices. First thing I remember hearing and seeing was my mom in the kitchen to the right of me, and when I looked over, I saw her just making herself a glass of water, and then she looked at me, and then she asked if I was alright and if I wanted the glass, and I think I probably said something like, "Nah, I'm good, it's fine, thanks though." Like, that's the thing with deliriums, like, everything that's happening just seems so normal when it shouldn't be, because my mom was, still back here in Texas. But then I remember sitting there watching the TV, and then I started hearing my grandma and my dad talk to each other, and I saw them like to the corner of my eye sitting in the 2 chairs that just so happened to be beside me, and they were just talking casual. As far as I remember, nothing really seemed weird in the moment, but I mean, I was starting to remember that I was tripping on Benadryl. Like, I remember at one point I looked into the kitchen again, and I saw a dog, and the dog started barking at me, and it looked mean as hell. And the dog was like made out of that smoke that I was seeing in the air. Like, that's what I'm saying, like, the smoke was like, it was making different things. Like, I was looking at my grandma's pendulum clock on the wall, and it was just swinging back and forth, and I saw like inside there was a little bit of that smoke, and it was forming itself together, and it made a bird, and the bird flew out of there and just disappeared. So now for the moment everybody loves, good old spiders. And the first spider I remember seeing was huge, like huge. And I remember seeing it next to my grandma's fireplace, like it was coming down from its web slowly, but I could just see it. But I did remember that I was tripping on it when I was seeing this. But then I started to see little black dots crawling all over my legs, and I would feel it. So I would start whacking at my legs, and I was freaking out. Then I started seeing like big spiders just in really subtle places, like corner of the room, like the corner of the ceiling. And those big spiders would be like surrounded by a bunch of tiny little spiders. Also, I remember seeing a moth flying around the room that entire night, and I couldn't tell if it was real or not. And when I finally saw it land, I went to go whack at it, and it just disappeared, and I never saw it again after that. And to this day, I still don't know if that moth was real or not. So anyway, this was back when I smoked cigarettes, and I really wanted to smoke bad, but just the idea of going outside in the dark like this in this state would just terrified me. Like, I was actually that anxious about it. There was not a chance that was happening until the sun came up. Anyways, I wanted to go to sleep because I wanted this to end. This was just too much weirdness for one night, and I was starting to get like really paranoid and kind of freaked out. So I mean, I did try to sleep, but of course that's definitely not happening yet. Like, I was still feeling spiders on my legs and seeing them all over my blanket too. So I get up and I look at the couch that I'm laying on, and I see a bunch of different spots that look like they could be bugs. So I took my phone out and I started taking a picture of what I think looks like a bug, and I would look at the picture on the phone and there would actually be something there, but I highly doubt that it was a bug. I mean, it was probably just a piece of lint or something, but I mean, to me it looked like it had legs and that they were crawling and everything. So basically I noped the fuck out of the living room and went to my grandma's office where the computer was. And so I laid on the floor and I turned on that 70s show on her computer and just tried to watch that. So I remember randomly one point my dad walked into the office and he told me, "Hey, get up, come here, come see this real quick." And in my head I knew it was a hallucination, so I didn't get up at first, and so I just kept watching my show. And then my cousin walks in there, and of course she wasn't even there. My cousin walks in and she says, "Hey, you better go with him or I'm gonna come pick you up." And it did not freak me out like you think it might, because I mean, I'm delirious as hell and this is 100% normal. So I was like, alright, I'm coming. I got up, go into the living room, and I see that there was a little bit of sunlight out finally, and I saw this as my golden opportunity to go smoke a cigarette. So I go out back, light one up, and then I saw my dad again off in the distance outside, and he was like, hey, come over here, come see this real quick. And then he walked around the corner. But of course, I mean, I knew it was a hallucination, so I stayed there and just kept smoking my cigarette. But then there was a stop sign pole that was not too far from me, and it started to talk to me. I think I remember it saying something like, "Hey, come over here, man, just come over here, just come see this, you got nothing to worry about." And as I was actually about to get up and head that way, I saw another neighbor to the distance at another house. He was also outside smoking a cigarette as well. So that was kind of enough to bring me back, and I sat my dumb ass back down. And I kept hearing the voice in my head, "Hey, come on, man, come over here." And I was like, "Nah, man, I can't come over there. You don't understand, man. I can't." But anyway, the voice did stop eventually. And so I started to head back inside, and before I did, I saw like a reflection on the glass of the door, and it looked weird. Like, it kind of looked like it was on the inside of the house, but it also looked like a reflection. And I remember it looked like this really old guy sitting in a rocking chair just staring at me. And I just kind of took a deep breath and walked in knowing it was a hallucination. And I went to go lay back down, and I never did fall asleep until that next night. So when my dad was actually awake and talking to me, sometimes I couldn't tell if it was real or not. So I was just trying my best to respond to everything as normally as I could. But no, it wasn't easy for that entire day. Like, I was struggling all day. Until, of course, I eventually came down and felt like shit. So anyways, yeah, that was my first experience with diphenhydramine. And then I would, of course, go on to do a lot more of it. But, I've been off that shit for years. But anyways, that is my story. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. I love you. Not many people do, so it means a lot to me. Anyways, guys, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and stick around for more trip reports. Leave a like, comment about your experience, whatever, if you want. I love reading those kinds of comments. And subscribe, because I got a lot more coming. Thank you for watching. Peace.